Welcome. I'm Andrea Hable, President of the League of Women Voters of the Woodbury Cottage Grove area. The purpose of the League, national, state, and local, is to empower voters and defend democracy. For more than 100 years, the League of Women Voters has been a trusted source of nonpartisan voter registration and education, and a longstanding witness to Minnesota's proud tradition of voter access and election integrity. The League envisions a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League strengthens our communities by conducting candidate forums, promoting voter registration, and informing voters about public policy through educational programs. We invite you to visit our website, lwvmn.org, to learn about the statutes, best practices, and safeguards associated with Minnesota elections. Follow the link to Vote 411 for a one-stop shop for all your election needs, including a voter's guide personalized to you. We hope all of our candidates here tonight have submitted their information to the voter's guide. And now I'll turn it over to Jodi Ritacca, who is moderating tonight.
Thank you, Andrea. Hello and welcome to this candidate forum. I'm Jodi Ritacca. I'm a volunteer with the Woodbury Cottage Grove Area League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters Minnesota and our local leagues conduct candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. The League is not a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters. The LWV Minnesota and our local leagues post complete, unedited, and they post complete and unedited recordings of the forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts of edited clips of the candidate forums may not be used for partisan or for political purposes. And I'm very pleased our candidates with us tonight, our Newport City Council, include Josh Schmidt and Marvin Taylor and Brian Xiong. Each candidate will be asked to provide a 1-minute opening statement. We will go in alphabetic order for opening statements, which means candidate Josh Schmidt will go first, and the reverse will be used for the closing statements, allowing candidate Marvin Taylor to go at that time first. For each question, and we'll reverse that order as we ask the questions. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer the questions and 30 seconds for any rebuttal. Candidate Brian Xiong chose not to attend and has submitted a statement to share that I will read his statement as a moderator after the opening statements by Marvin. Our timekeepers tonight are League of Women Voter volunteers Vivian Latimer Tannehill and Diane Fredrickson, and they will hold up signs to indicate the 30 seconds remaining during your question answer, and then 15 seconds remaining and then a final stop. And stop, just finish up whatever sentence that you're in, if you see that sign. The questions have been submitted by voters to the League by email or during voter service events in the community. The viewing audience can submit questions by calling or texting the number displayed on their screen right now during this forum. We will not have time to ask all the questions submitted, and the League volunteers will decide which questions will be presented in order to address a variety of topics. At the finish, the candidates will each have 1 minute for a closing statement. This forum is being live streamed and broadcast by the South Washington County Telecommunications Commission. The forum is being recorded and can be viewed until Election Day on the SWCT website and on the Woodbury Cottage Grove Area League of Women Voters website. So let's begin, and we'll begin with Josh for opening statements.
Well, hello, my name is Josh Schmidt. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us out tonight and Jodi for moderating this. I moved to Newport about a little over 3 years ago. I'm a local area kid, but my family and I relocated here to the city of Newport. And we've enjoyed living here. We've enjoyed the public parks. We've enjoyed the community feel of being here. And my full intent of running for city council is to continue to see the evolution of Newport. I'm very excited about the opportunities that are presented in front of us here. I think there's a lot of great things that Newport has going for it. As part of city council, my primary objectives would be to listen. Being a relatively new community member, one of the biggest things to me is absorbing as much as I can from the people that have lived here a long time and from the people that are newer to the community. I plan to also find win-win opportunities for us as a community. I think it's super important for us as a smaller group to be able to come together and find creative solutions to give us the amenities that we're looking for. Thank you.
Marvin, your opening statement.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting us today, and also thank you for being out at other community events such as Pioneer Day, doing outreach to our voters in our community. I also want to thank the South Washington Telecommunications Commission for covering us here today, and every other meeting we do sit in this when we sit in this facility. It's an important part of getting our message out, and I know a lot of people do watch these events. And finally, I want to thank Josh for not only being here tonight, but having the courage to step up and run. Being a first-time candidate a few years ago, not too long ago, it's not easy. Everybody else has more experience. It can be a little bit intimidating, but he's a very bright person. I think he'll have a lot to contribute to the community. So I'll look forward to sharing more about myself. I mean, as we go forward, but I think it's an exciting time in Newport, a lot of new infrastructure, investments in parks, and this new facility amongst many others. And I look forward to serving this community for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Marvin. And as I mentioned, candidate Brian Xiong will not be able to attend today's candidate forum, so here is his 1-minute statement for me as the moderator to read. My name is Brian Xiong, and I've been a resident of Minnesota for over 31 years and take great pride in my role as a Minnesotan community member and volunteer. I support various nonprofit organizations that assist diverse elderly populations, families, and other low-income individuals. Many of my family members and relatives live in Newport, and we are proud to be active contributing members of this lovely small city. In 2022, I joined the Park Board Committee for Newport to advocate for those who lack access to parks and recreational facilities, including elderly, people of color, families with limited or no green spaces for enjoyment or community events. From my involvement with the city and community service, I've seen that we need fresh perspectives, voices, and approaches to advance the city into a new era. It's crucial that we include diverse individuals and families in this process to collectively shape a better future for our community. I excel in building relationships with diverse community members, so my leadership approach revolves around actively listening to them and putting their needs first. They are the foundation of our success. Without them, there is no us in City Hall. I prioritize supporting our elders and families while also investing in a better future for the younger ones through investing in education, infrastructure, and community development. As an educator, I support investing in Newport public schools to ensure that they are easily accessible for local families and young learners. As a public worker who has worked in union roles and served as a union steward and advocate for those who lack a voice and influence in the workplace, I believe and strive to invest in infrastructure that includes the voices of the community and their input. As a resident of Newport, I've observed numerous opportunities for both the community and business growth. It's crucial to select the right individuals to effectively address and advance new ideas for community development initiatives. Thank you, Brian Xiong. Now, we can begin some questions. So the first question, what experience and training in your background makes you the best city council candidate? And we'll start with Marvin.
I think, being on the council, the important thing is being a team member. So I think that's one of the biggest things is your ability to work with others. And, certainly I'll have the most experience, but I don't want to overemphasize that too much. But the last 10 years, I served 6 years on the Planning Commission. So that's one of the skill sets I've brought to the council is the focus on land use and transit questions. And again, over the last 4 years, I've focused on many other issues as well. And sometimes you tap into your background too, that it isn't just, You know, the basic things. I got heavily involved in a school referendum because that's part of sometimes just having kids around the house. You realize that might become something you turn to. And so it's always a little bit of a surprise which experiences you draw on in this position. But I think that in particular the land use and development questions, especially going forward, as we try to do more on our commercial corridor, are areas that have struggled the most. I think I can draw on that background a lot to continue to move Newport forward.
Thank you, Marvin. Josh, same question. What experience and training in your background makes you the best city council candidate?
Thank you. Yes. Oddly enough, I have a technology background, so that may not make for close parallels to city council work. But what I would say is my background is in technology management. So that is in the collaboration of building technology products, working with people, building products that are financially stable, that are operationally cost controlled, all things that have tight parallels to working in a city council role. At the end of the day, we are a smaller community, so we have limited access to funds. So doing things that are going to manage our costs, manage them effectively, and work with our community members to bring the greatest value and biggest bang for the buck is exactly what I'm looking to do.
Thank you. Next question. What do you believe are the top 2 issues that the city council need to address over the next 4 years and why? And we'll go with Josh.
Right, so the top 2 issues, the first one that comes to mind is connectivity. One of the things is we have good parks, and the parks are spread throughout the community. I would like to see a continued evolution of making the parks accessible and connected to one another to better collaborate and bring the community from all parts of Newport together. So I think one of the big things is connectivity and development of our parks. We're already doing a good job of that today, but there's definitely room to go there. And the other piece of this would be economic development. One of the things that's really important for Newport is we sit in a really unique, critical junction in 2 major roads. So one of the benefits that we could all get from economic development is by increasing the business throughput and increasing the traffic and increasing the amount of people that are visiting our town. So I look forward to operating in that capacity, and those are the 2 things that I'm going to be driving at.
Thank you. Marvin, same question. What do you believe are the top 2 issues that the city council will need to address over the next 4 years and why?
I think, we've been making a lot of investments in infrastructure, both in parks and inflow and infiltration, major issues that have price tags that run into the millions. And so I think that's, as we keep working on these issues, we need to keep securing external money to make it possible to keep these investments moving forward. The second part, again, I think economic development is a big area of passion for me, but it's been a struggle here in my first 4 years to sometimes see through some of the changes I really want to get to. And we've been able to get a lot of development at the periphery of our town, residential developments, we've got commercial developments coming in new areas, but often at the edges. And like our downtown, as we get closer to Glen, especially on Hastings, really hasn't changed much in decades. And so I think that's the challenge. You got to get a little bit more innovative. You have to respect the businesses that are there, yet still be able to move things forward. So it's a delicate task. It's an expensive task of trying to assemble parcels for redevelopment, but I think it's an important task that we must undertake.
Thank you. Next question. What do you plan to do to support safe air, water, and soil in our community? Marvin?
Certainly safe water has been a high priority for all communities in South Washington County, or in much of Washington County as a whole with the PFAS over the last decade. And I think we as a council have been working, and our staff have been really working strong as a team. The people that have been most involved aren't here tonight. Kevin, who I've been serving with, has been phenomenal on this as our city engineer, John Hurtigan. So I think we need to continue to work with the state, work with other communities to make sure that we get our piece of the settlement that'll work for us. And there's a lot of details about that, but I know that our staff is working on them, but it's that collaborative approach, working with others, that's going to be the key to ensuring that. And I think, that is really the biggest issue at this point, is that water.
Thank you. Next question goes to Josh. Same question. What do you do to support that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Safe air, water, and soil. Yeah.
It's a great question. Marvin hit on a lot of great points there. The only things that I would just jump onto as well is that partnership. I mean, there's a limited pile of money that's coming out of that settlement, so doing what we can to be creative and either gathering as much of that as we can or working with other communities around the area to be able to secure clean water. Clean air is going to be a similar concept, right? We want to work with state, we want to work with local communities so that we can continue to enhance the quality of life, the quality of our air, and preserve the quality of the water as well.
Okay, next question. Housing affordability is a significant issue. What can the City Council do to address this as it approves developers' proposals? Josh?
Yes, so for housing affordability, first thing that comes to mind is going to be making sure that the zoning supports the development of affordable housing. The second part of that is making sure that we are not overcharging the properties outright. So from a property tax perspective, making sure that we are not penalizing affordable housing and making sure that we cost control that the best that we can from a city council perspective.
Thank you.
you.
Marvin, same question. Housing affordability is a significant issue. What can the City Council do to address this as it approves developers' proposals?
Typically, historically in Newport, we were affordable, but it was an affordability based on oftentimes a lack of investment, kind of a struggle, not what was a deliberate attempt. In more recent years, I think we've seen our housing prices go up so that the ability to buy a starter home in Newport, existing starter home, has become much more difficult. And I think as a result, I think there's more acceptance in this community, and the leadership of the council and the staff has been more willing to pursue lower income housing projects. We've had one that opened several years ago and a second one that's going to be opening next month right next to our transit station. So that's a key, is to put these in the right place. We have a transit route that'll be coming to serve that station likely in early 2025. The second thing we do is to look at, when we look at housing stocks, not just go low density. I know a lot of people value the small town feel of single family homes on large lots, but we need to look to different housing types. We recently are in the process of approving a new development that includes 50 townhomes and 70 single-family homes on smaller lots that'll help not be ultra affordable, but more affordable than many of the other housing developments out there.
Next question. What role does the City Council play in addressing unresponsive landlords and rising rents? Marvin?
I think in my capacity on the council, I really think it's a difficult question to address rising rents beyond supporting rent-controlled projects such as the one I just talked about. I think we need to do is make sure that if those rents are tied to quality rental, experiences. I think that's my bigger concern with the rental situation in Newport, is the lack of a quality an inspection program to make sure that when people are paying those prices that they're getting something good and safe in return. Let's see.
Addressing the unresponsive, the rising rents.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we have a lot of rental properties that have been poorly maintained, and we're starting to focus more on, it's not just rental properties, but, code enforcement, rental inspections. I think, and it's just, in a small town too, if there's dialogue between, if there's people experiencing struggles, they can reach out to people on the council and others. I think, and that's, a good start if you're feeling that you don't have a voice or you need to help navigate that. I always just encourage people to reach out on this or other issues as well.
Thank you. Josh, same question. What role does the City Council play in addressing unresponsive landlords and rising rents?
Yeah, so for unresponsive landlords, it's a difficult thing from a city council perspective, simply because it is policy-based and the other half of that is enforcement-based. So from a city council perspective, my goal would be to look at policies that are constructive, be able to reach out to property owners, whether it is a landlord or a private property owner themselves. And at the end of the day, I want to understand what is the core of the property issue at hand, whether that is it's falling into disrepair or there's other type of activities that are going on. I really want to seek to understand before condemning. So that would be my goal of city council, is to help better understand where people are at in life and where they're coming from. And as part of rising rents, it's a similar concept. I would love to understand more rising rents, what is causing those, and what do people really seek to get out of that. If it is quality improvements, great. If it is reducing other expenses, that's also an option that we can look at too.
Thank you. Next question. What proposals, if any, do you support that would decrease crime and promote public safety in our community? Josh?
So two things come to mind initially. Obviously, increasing our sheriff's department within the community itself. By doing that, that's going to have a higher presence within the community. And another part of this we could do is increase visibility. I mean, one of the things that is really easy to do from a crime perspective is target areas that are dimly lit, areas that are less traveled. So improving visibility, improving police presence, improving community activity in general, whether that's through private businesses or other. There's opportunities that we have to reduce crime by deterring it or by enforcing.
Marvin, same question. What proposals, if any, do you support that would decrease crime and promote public safety in our community?
I think certainly our deputies that work for us, work for the sheriff's department, we need to listen to them first and foremost. What are they hearing? Do they feel the need for more resources? And that's something that's been expressed is, given the activity levels in Newport, that we're looking to add another deputy. It's a difficult choice because it costs money. If we're considering that in the current budget cycle. So that's always attention on all these things is. But I think the other thing is where can we target, make improvements to reduce areas of concentrated, let's say, crime and health and safety issues. There's, certainly I'm looking at I think there are certain problem properties in town. I don't want to name names here, but I think we can look at better inspections, look at increasing our licensing standards so that there's accountability held, especially when these are rented out, so that we can, not divert good resources to having to constantly, kind of to go to those properties so that we can spread them throughout our community.
Thank you. Next question. Rising taxes is a perennial issue, and with the increase in homes values, property taxes will be much higher. What alternatives to generating revenue would you explore? Marvin?
Our home values are going down next year in Newport. So, but it's complicated. Certainly, in the past couple of years, we've seen very high jumps in those. So, but it's as far as exploring alternatives, and it is an issue in Newport. Our tax rates are high, and there's different reasons for that. But I think it's been difficult, I think, to find alternatives. One of the successes that predates my time on the council was the billboard that overlooks the bridge. That brings in, close to $180,000 a year for the town. But there's limited opportunities to find those, but we need to keep looking. I think a lot of, other communities that look to sales taxes. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I think, I think the better thing we've done is just to look towards external funding for projects. And I think that's something our current mayor has been hammering on. She's not here tonight because she's unopposed, but really seeking, and building those relationships to get those grants, and funding from other different levels of government, nonprofits. And I think over the last 4 years, we've done that phenomenally well. So that's the biggest thing I see is more in that direction.
Thank you, Josh. Same question. What alternatives to generating revenue would you explore?
I agree with a lot of what Marvin said. Partnerships is the word that comes to mind. Obviously, being a smaller community, things that we can do for corporate sponsorships, for different building type of activities that we plan to do, public grants, economic development to obviously increase that tax base by bringing in more businesses. And then, of course, the other elephant in the room is cost reductions. All of these things together make up a good mix of things that we can pull on, different levers we can pull on, in order to help bring property taxes down.
Next question. What would you do to bring more small and diverse businesses to the city, and how would you support them? Josh.
So first thing would be the zoning. Marvin hit on this earlier, but being delicate with how we zone downtown Newport and being able to drive interest and being able to drive discussion around where strategic things can go, whether that's a private business going in, or maybe there's some public development in the downtown area for improving parks, improving sidewalks, improving roads. there's a lot of levers that, in this case as well, that we can pull to try to attract small business, and then setting them up for success when they're here. So giving them a voice when they come into city council, hearing them, listening to them, working with them on their needs. Those would be the things that I would be looking for.
Thank you. Marvin, same question. What would you do to bring more small and diverse businesses to the city, and how would you support them?
I think, my experience is, is sometimes I think people assume small and diverse is automatically good. And sometimes we've seen a lot, my times in here in Newport, we also seen a lot of small businesses move into, new landlords come, chop up a building, and put a lot of small tenants in. It's small and diverse, but it's not what we're looking for. And the challenge is to get small businesses that I think that we're trying to, that tie into some of the ideals of this community that go, think of the Bartle Hardware, the businesses, the Fisher Foods that were part of the past that were vital, kind of integrated in the community. I think, and that's the type of small businesses I'm looking for. It's hard to create, first of all, they need smaller spaces that they can get at competitive prices. And I think as we're looking to do more economic development, that needs to be part of the discussion of not just looking for the biggest, most expensive, replacement when we're doing redevelopment. I think that can exclude a lot of the smaller things. So it's something that needs to be part of those discussions.
Thank you. Next question. The office of City Council member is a nonpartisan and no party affiliation is indicated on the ballot or typical sought by candidate. Should the local city council continue to be independent of political party orientation, politics, or if so, why or how? And that goes to Marvin.
Yes, it should be. I mean, I think I've enjoyed this role because of that. I mean, it's simply that I think keeps, we bring ourselves to the table and bring whatever experiences we have. And I think I know it's maybe, I think in a small community, we can still, go out there and meet enough people that we don't have to, sometimes that's one of the biggest challenges why parties get involved, I think, is when it's hard, you run into, like some of the neighboring cities where you have large, you have to go out and see 40, 50,000 voters. And so but here I think there's absolutely, no reason for it. I don't want it. I've pushed back on it. And I think I've enjoyed, not many people even ask me at this point where I am on the, that spectrum. I appreciate that. And I hope that stays the case because it keeps the divisiveness down in this community.
Thank you. Josh, same question. Should the local city council continue to be independent of political party-oriented politics? If so, how?
Yes, again, completely agree with Marvin and the statements raised. And full transparency, that's the only reason that I actually signed up. I couldn't agree more with keeping that out of our local politics. I think it's super important for us to come to the table, come with fresh ideas, come with a listening attitude, look for win-win opportunities, and be able for us to just talk about the issues that are in front of us as a community. And that, to me, is what is most important.
Next question. What measures would you put in place as Minnesota rolls out the legalization of marijuana? Josh.
So this is a good example of a question that I'm not necessarily well informed on, and I think this is an important thing to know about me. I'm going to be looking for more information. Obviously, this is relatively new that just rolled out. There are going to be requirements that are pushed down to cities that we have to look to abide by. I want all conversations to come forward, all ideas to come forward from both ends of that spectrum. And at the end of the day, marijuana has a connotation that comes with it that maybe isn't always positively received. So for the folks that feel that way, I think it's super important we hear from you and understand better what are the concerns and what are the things that really are most worrisome. And then for the folks that are in support of it, equally, I want to hear from you and what are the things that you value about it and what are some of the benefits that you see bringing to the community. So this is a good example of something where I'd like to learn more and hear more. Thank you.
Thank you. Marvin, same question. What measures would you put in place as Minnesota rolls out the legalization of marijuana?
been a time-consuming topic over the last, in my first time, term on mayor, on the council. It's just, it seems like the state passes something, we have to react, and it's difficult, you know, at a level of a community of 4,000 trying to draft new ordinances. And the reality is, I think we're going to be looking out to other communities, figure out what, you know, how they've, you know, developed approaches and, you know, and try to make that work with us. I really don't want to be spending a lot of time on this topic, but I know it's something new. People are going to be looking to see what we do, but I think a lot of ways it's just, there's a lot of parallels with tobacco. How we're going to restrict it in public spaces is probably going to be one of the most important things. You know, how are we going to license the sales of it? You know, and there's certainly other things that can be done, but I think it's not, we don't have to reinvent the wheel entirely, because I think a lot of with the changes in tobacco regulations, especially smoking tobacco, I think a lot of what we'll end up doing is going to mirror that.
Next question, as a city council member, how will you work with or utilize the views and recommendations of your city commissions? Marvin?
I mean, I had the privilege of serving on our planning commission for 6 years, and so I always, you know, like to see when the city council does, listen. And I think that, and I've still served ever since leaving that. I've been the liaison to it, so I still enjoy hearing. I think the challenge is always, you know, I mean, it's how, I think there's just challenging to get, I think, the consistency across commissions and get that, you know, I think there's been things done like including the minutes of all the commissions in our council packets so that we see them. But it's like, it's a challenge. I don't honestly pay as much attention, but I kind of rely on my fellow people on the council. They bring each from their different commissions. So it is an important part of this community, the commissions. It's a big part of our civic involvement, and I'm very excited that we have them fully staffed, and they only stay fully staffed or fully, you know, if we listen to them. And so I think they've had influences on the parks. I'm serving with a couple of the members of the park board right now on a new park survey. So I think we're trying to give them, you know, especially when it's in their area, give them the opportunity to be heard and influenced as well as the council.
Josh, same question. As a city council member, how will you work with and utilize the views and the recommendations of your city commissions?
Well, I think from this perspective, it's appreciation. I mean, these people are putting their time up and they're looking at, you know, how can they help improve the quality of life for our community. So I think it'd be inappropriate for a city council member to not listen to them, to not take their guidance and their advice. At the same time, I think it is good to provide guidance and leadership in that way as well. Looking more holistically across Newport as a wider community. But at the end of the day, I think it's being able to listen to them, to provide guidance and show appreciation and implement some of the ideas that come forward.
Thank you. Final question, or one more question. I guess we have a couple here. What neighborhood issues are most important to you, and how would you resolve them? Josh?
The first thing that comes to mind would probably be the connectivity of Newport. I think there's significant opportunity for us to bring different portions of our community closer together. Marvin hit on this earlier, but we've got fringe communities that have been stood up, and we've got existing homes that exist throughout the community. We've got parks that are well placed throughout. I want to find a better way of, especially with our long-term strategic plan, how can we truly connect Newport and really bring everyone together? So that would be one of the big things. One of the other things I'd be looking for is more community events. I think that's an incredibly powerful way for us to all come together, rally behind activity or music or food or whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of benefit in bringing the community closer together.
Marvin, same question. What neighborhood issues are most important to you, and how would you resolve them?
It's a difficult question because you get out, and even a little town like Newport, there are many, the issues vary. You move 6 blocks one way, move 6 blocks another way, they can be a totally different issue that kind of comes to fore. And I think sometimes, you know, people can think that we're not listening when we're not just reacting to that specific issue sometimes. And it's a challenge of trying to guide the city on a more comprehensive vision that we're trying to push for the city and guide investments. But that, you know, and I think it's tough to, you know, balance that weight with some of those more specific concerns. And I think it's not a lack of listening, but there's just different kind of tempos to kind of how, and priorities. And I think right now it's like, it's difficult too. I mean, our staff right now are very, very busy. I'll just say that. And that's challenging when you're doing all these other, sometimes new developments and all these other things that we like get excited about. It's hard to devote some of the time and attention to some of these smaller issues. And I know they're important and I want to get to them, but I also need that. I hope people recognize that it's not as easy as it sometimes sounds. So.
And we have a final question, and this is from someone watching today's forum.
Uh-oh.
How is operating a business similar to managing the city? List your relevant experience or in business that you have been successful with. And that would go to Marvin then.
I haven't run a business in my life. I've done many different things. Grew up on a family farm. I think so. I've had a range of experiences. So I think the principles of management are more general. And I think that the big we don't serve to make a profit on everything. But I think the challenge is more that we need to be cost effective, that we're using the resources. That's kind of, I think, what people are looking for when they make that business comparison with government, is are you using that money right? And so I think that's what I always look to as we make investments. I'm not looking to make the cheapest investment or spend the least, but I'm trying to make sure that when we do something like put a new playground in, it's going to get the most benefit for the dollar. And so sometimes that's going to be something that's a little bit higher quality. It'll last longer, more residents will come. And so I think that's the big thing is that kind of effectiveness of the dollars that we spend. And I want that to be something that we do throughout our community.
Josh, same question. How is operating a business similar to managing this city? And list any of your experience that you've been successful with.
Yeah, this is a great question. And I highlighted this a little bit earlier around a lot of the parallels that I see between large organizations, large score financial investments into those companies, and what we can do on a city management level. Marvin hit on a few of these things, but at the end of the day, it's about finding friends, finding resources, finding money. And looking externally to get a lot of that stuff allows us to get advancements, allows us to get value add for our community. The other thing too, from a dollar perspective, I only will look for things that add more value than they cost. And there's plenty of opportunities out there for us to get that. So thinking in terms of spending less than the value you're given. That's the goal of what I would be driving at.
Well, thank you. Now it's time for your closing statements. And we will begin with Marvin.
Over the last 4 years, you start out and you think it's going to be easy sometimes being on the council, and you think that things are going to get solved. And I'm proud of what I've accomplished over the last 4 years. But I think if maybe listening to some of my responses, you also have come to realize there's always a tension. It's never easy. There's always limited resources, and I think that kind of brings a reality to what it is to be on the council. It's kind of a struggle sometimes, but I think at the end of the day, I'm optimistic about Newport, where we've gone in the last 4 or 5 years and where we're headed. And I think that's what I want people to focus on, is that we have new developments on Bailey, Century, hopefully on 7th Avenue. They're going to keep moving us forward. We have new investments in parks coming, hopefully Lions and the riverfront in the next couple of years, a dog park next month. So just bit by bit, accomplishment by accomplishment, you turn a community around. And I think that's what why I want to be on the council for the next 4 years, is to keep moving forward one thing at a time. And it's going to take it's a challenge, but I think we're making that progress, and I look forward to hope to be part of that again in the next 4 years.
Thank you. And Josh, your closing statement.
I want to thank everyone again for having us on tonight, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to run for Newport City Council and for your consideration at home. Number of things that come to mind for what I'm looking to bring to the table is looking for win-wins, looking to improve quality of life for everybody, looking to listen and hear from our community. And at the end of the day, I'm not looking to cause friction. I'm looking to listen, I'm looking to be efficient, I'm looking to be opportunistic where we need to be, and I'm looking to build upon the momentum that Marvin was just highlighting. And I greatly appreciate being a citizen of Newport, and hope to secure your vote in the election. Thank you.
thank you. It's been my pleasure to moderate tonight's forum, and I want to thank SWCTC, our League of Women Voters volunteers this evening, and to our candidates, Josh Schmidt, Marvin Taylor, and Brian Xiong. Thank you, and remember to vote. Early voting is September 20th through November 4th, and Election Day is November 5th. So thank you, everyone. And I throw it back to Andrea.
Thanks, Jodi. This concludes our forum for the candidates running for Newport City Council. Thank you to the candidates for choosing to run for office and your participation in the forum tonight. And thank you to all those of you who viewed the forum live tonight or who will view the forum between now and the election. The League of Women Voters, Woodbury Cottage Grove area, has hosted 6 candidate forums this September. This is one of our most important community services. Last year, our forums had nearly 5,000 views. We encourage you to share the replay of the forum tonight and the others we've hosted this season with family and friends in our area. So far, all of our forums together, we've had this one, the Newport City Council, Cottage Grove City Council, and Woodbury City Council, and then the House districts that overlap with those, Minnesota House District 53B, 41A and B, and 47A and B. All of these forums are available to watch through South Washington County Telecommunications Commission. You can find them on TV or online. They will be broadcast live and then periodically replayed, and that's Comcast Channel 18 and HD Channel 859. Otherwise, you can find them at any time through swctc.org or their YouTube channel. Videos of forums hosted by other leagues in other areas of our state can be found through our website, vote411.org, if you're looking to share those with friends and family in other metro areas or outstate. Please make every effort to become informed about candidates running for all of the offices on this year's ballot, and most importantly, get out and vote.